But see, the thing is, because we don't really think about the future. Because that's our problem in the black people. We don't think about the future, right? About all this now. So he knows that he won't live to be there, but he thinks about his family and his family's family. We don't think like that. That's that's bad for our give it to me.
But I think for musicians as well, when they start and so on, you can't think how big it's going to be. You can't.
No, well, think about it. Like me, I've been around so many. I've seen it go this way, and when it can't be going and it can't be coming back, and I've been right in the level.
Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to our kickoff of our how-to series with Memphis Slim Collaboratory. Today, we will be talking about preparing your music for the radio. And so in that, again, we would like to introduce our esteemed panelists that will be talking to you all this morning. And so we will do Q&A sessions in intervals. So if you are interested in asking a question, feel free to type it into the comments and we'll be able to see that as it posts and answer your questions accordingly. Outside of that, you just watched a really cool clip featuring some of our members, T.O. Crivens on guitar, Swavo Jones on trombone, and of course, Mike Mosby on drums. And that is a little bit, I guess, behind the eyes of the musicians that actually enter into Slim House. So if any of you are interested in actually becoming members of Slim House, we will be posting some information a little bit further into the programming about how you can be a member. So with no further ado, I would like to take the opportunity to go ahead and introduce our panelists this morning. And so first up, Mr. Jared J.B. Boyd, who is the program manager of WYXR. And then also Renisha Mayes, who is also our newly installed board chair of Memphis Slim Collaboratory, both very knowledgeable on the topics that we will be discussing, particularly radio and preparing your music for radio. And so please pay attention, go ahead and pull out your notepads and get ready to learn a few things and ask questions as you need to.
Unmuted now. All right, awesome. Hey, everybody. Good morning. I'm Jared J.B. Boyd, program manager of WYXR 91.7 FM. We are located in the Crosstown Concourse in Memphis, Tennessee, a new radio station celebrating all styles of music and all things that inspire Memphians. I'm really excited to be with you here today. I'm a born and raised Memphian. I got my White Station Spartan shirt on today. That was by accident, but I am excited to be back home and serving in this capacity. Some of you may know some of my past work as a news reporter for the Daily Memphian and some other projects I've done at home. A former, I guess you could say former artist. So I get in the studio every here and again, and DJ as well, DJing down at Central Station downtown and on air on Tuesday nights for the Nervous Wreck radio show at WYXR. So I'm excited to meet everyone and hear more about your journeys in music and connect over time.
Hello, everyone. I'm Renisha Mayes. I am the new chairperson for the Memphis Slim House Board of Directors, and I'm a music executive. So I've worked in different music industry sectors, from distribution to record label ops to marketing in the music industry. And I'm born and raised from Memphis, South Memphis. I went to Fairleigh High School. I was in the choir. Been in the music game for over 15 years now. So it's been really great. And I'm excited about this workshop, being with Jared. He's phenomenal. He's awesome. We've met in different sectors through email, but we actually got an opportunity to see one another and talk just 2 days ago. So I'm super excited about any questions that you all have about preparing your music for radio or anything about the music industry.
So great. Well, we're going to start the topics of discussion. So, of course, we will be breaking down. So, if you are taking notes, hopefully you are. We will be breaking down exactly how you will be able to just follow the basic steps, and then, of course, we'll leave you with a few deliverables at the end of the session as well, as far as guidelines and different things like that for you to be able to follow in order to submit your music. So, we'll start with copyright and the importance of ownership of your music. So we'll move into copyrights, cover copyrights, publishing, as well as ISRC codes as well.
Okay, Jared, you want me to talk about copyrights or?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought we were starting. I'm volley to you. You're the expert.
That's my world. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is very, very important that you know that you registered your intellectual property. So you have to go to the copyright.gov website, and basically you have your lyrics, your audio. You don't actually have to have your ISRC code embedded in at that time, but it will be good to have it already for that. But this is really, really important that you go through the copyright.gov, or you can get an administrator. You can actually find someone that does administrative work, and they could register your works for you as a creative. I know that you already have a lot on your plate, so it's very important that you build out that team of people and you put them in position to do things for you. But number one, your copyright is the most important thing because that's your intellectual property. You never want to release a song on any platform, or even if you're, freestyling and singing it, someone will steal your lyrics. They will, infringe on your rights and get your music. And then all of a sudden you hear your stuff out and you're like, wait, hey, this is mine. How did they why would they do that? But if you didn't copyright it and protect it, then that's an issue. So you definitely want to go to copyright.gov. That is the only site that is legit for you to register your lyrics, and it's a fee. So you want to make sure that you have invested a small budget put to the side to pay for certain things. As we talk through this workshop, you will understand that a lot of this stuff requires small payments. So yeah, that's the website you go to, or like I said, you can get with a individual that actually does administrative work on your behalf. And that also when we go talking to publishing, that you would have someone to do that, allocate someone to do that for you. But if you're independent and you really want to just learn the steps, you would start there and make sure that you have written out those lyrics. Those are the lyrics that you want to be in their registration. And also, just for protection, I would always have clean lyrics and explicit lyrics if the song is explicit.
I know on our end, I know that there's some other codes that are important. I know we're going to speak about that down the line today. But for us, we have to report the music that we play, and we really want to support local artists. And it can become a challenge when there isn't an ISRC code associated with a particular work. There's a lot of music that we have that's been well out of print for years and years and years, whether it be on 45 or whether it be on LP or CD. And particularly, I'm sure for a lot of you who might be listening in, files would be the easiest way for you to put music in somebody's hands, especially, it's 2021 and time is moving fast. A lot of our music, as we log it, it's being logged in real time. If I woke up right now, I had a song in my spirit, I wanted to play Soul to Soul. Keep on moving. I just can't wait to get up to the radio station. I just want to play that song. It's just on my spirit. When I play it, we have a system called Spinatron that'll hear it and kind of listen like a SoundHound or a Shazam might, and file it away. And it's being filed away by its publishing and by our ISRC code, so that at the end of a quarter, when it's time for us to report, what we've played on the air, people are able to get credit for having their song played on the radio, which is very helpful to an artist sort of having a footprint out in cyberspace when there's so much media and so much content out there, to know that your music is being legitimized by an FM and online radio station, which we're both. It really brings a certain air of I don't want to say legitimacy, because it's not necessarily a hierarchy. I mean, the art is the art, but it creates a footprint for you in an ecosystem that can advocate for you on your behalf.
I totally agree with Jared, and with him talking about the imprint that it will create for you is we'll kind of slide into publishing, knowing how to sign up with a PRO, a performance rights organization. You know that in the US we have 3, and that's BMI, ASCAP, and CSAC. Most people tend to go to BMI, and they go to ASCAP as well, and CSAC is invite only. So with those two, you want to make sure you are registering your songs with the songwriter who was a part of that product, that unit, that work that you created. So you got your songwriter, your composer, which is the producer as well. And then that is a part where you would want your ISRC embedded in it. And it's really the importance of having that code is to be able to track your music throughout the lifetime, you know, the span of your music being put out in different outlets, either through radio, television, getting an opportunity for singing. So you want that code embedded in your music. But also, a lot of people don't understand when you're registering with the PRO, there's 2 components to that. You know, there's the writer share, and then there's a publisher share. So you want to make sure that you have a publisher entity attached to it. And some people think, I've heard this in the past, where people say, oh, I have a publisher, it's BMI. BMI is not your publisher. They collect your royalties on your behalf. So what you would do is when you sign up as the individual writer or producer, and then you also sign up as a publishing company. Your publishing company usually is your independent label that you created, and you create that name for it. And that comes with a fee. Now, ASCAP, you do pay 2 fees, the writers and the publishers. BMI only has 1 fee, which is your publishing fee. But you want to make sure that you have that publishing company set up aside of yourself with your Social Security number, of course, attached to that writer share. Because let's just say down the line, you want to be signed to a publishing deal or a label. For that instance, you want to have protection with your publishing name attached to it, so that when there's a co-pub deal, whereas a label or a publisher will come in and say, hey, I want to administer your works on your behalf, but we're going to take a percentage of that, and we're going to work together. So that in that way, and also when you're working on a co-pub deal in that entity, it helps when you're trying to get your music out there on the bigger platforms such as television and movies. It's really, really great that you understand that you need that publisher entity along with your writer's entity. And then when you're working with someone in the studio, always have a split sheet on hand. Make sure, and if you don't have a split sheet, I can send you one, or I give it to Tanya and I can show you just a sample what the split sheet looks like. And on that split sheet is basically the title of the song, the writer's names, the percentages, and the publisher's name and their percentages, and which PRO you went with, either BMI or ASCAP. When you go in that studio and you're about to record that song, make sure before you leave out of there, even if you didn't finish that song, you started on it, go ahead and get the names of the people that's currently working with you on that product. Because like Jared said, everybody wants to have their credits and they want to be attached to that song because they can help them be successful in any entity, working with other people. But split sheets are absolutely important.
I can listen to Renisha go all day. She's a guru. And I'm sitting
Thank you.
Here in a room, and I'm learning just listening to you, but I'm sitting here in a room that's full of records. I'm a record collector, and I think so often about what records are and what they mean. And they call them that, but they truly are that. They are a recording and a statement that somebody was here and somebody had something to share, and you want to make record of that. You want to, for lack of a better term, you want to be able to do all that you can to take ownership of the fact that you were here and your statement was here and what you had to say was here. Just like the cave drawings that they uncovered, whenever they uncovered those, these records as a collector had that kind of meaning for me. And that didn't really dawn on me until I was sitting in the record store in Mobile, Alabama. I would spend a lot of time there. And people would walk in and say, I'm looking for my marriage license. And it's like, well, that's not that kind of records, but in a way it is, it is the human history of audio in a form. And so just that sort of unfortunate naming of the record store, Mobile Records, allowed people to sort of bring that light bulb over me. Like these are the records. This is us. This is particularly in an oral history such as our folk. This is the definite sort of way that we like to communicate with one another and make that mark and make that stamp.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you with that. We can slide right into ISRC code. So, that's International Standard Recording Code, like we mentioned in the copyright and in the publishing component. But that code, like I said, it is so important. It's a small fee if you want to do it independently, $95, which will get you 100,000 codes. And what that means is they will give you a registering code. It's a 3-letter. Well, they might have gotten into the numbers now, but it's always going to be 3. And at the beginning, you'll see US, or if we've ran out of US, I think they've in QZ now. But you would have that 2 country code, and then you'll have your registration code that's been assigned to you, the year, and then 5 digits that you would create into your library. These are numbers that you will create and keep up with, so you'll know the list of songs that you have. Now, when you're going with the distributor, sometimes they will create a ISRC for you. But they also ask you if you have your own. So it's really up to you if you want to go with your distributor that generates you an ISRC, or you buy your own. There's really no big difference, other than if you go to the website usisrc.org, they have a list on there that tells you who is legit and who has created usernames, basically, that they can generate these ISRC codes for you, so that you won't be going with someone and they're generating an ISRC code that won't detect your music once it's either charted or, like Jared said, played on the radio where he can actually see it. So you definitely want to make sure that you are going with it. I think the biggest issue with the music industry is making sure people are legit. So you just want to make sure you're going to the right sites and that you're purchasing the right thing that you need to move forward with your product. So like I said, you can either go through a distributor and they have it. It's the list on there. And if there's a new distributor in town, you might just want to click on the FAQ and see if they generate ISRCs for you. But I purchased my own. Just to have. I'm not recording any music, but I just go through the things just so I can see how they work. And they are $95, and you get up to 100,000 of those unique codes that you create. I was just looking, somebody had put some in the chat.
Yeah, I caught that question too, Renisha. I was wondering your thoughts on that.
Yeah. It went away. If they can put it back up, I want to see what they said. Hold on. She mentioned. Okay, that's a really good question. So when you're the creator. So the people that you need around you at the beginning, because that list is going to get a little bigger depending on how far you go with your career. Like which path you're trying to take. What are you trying to, work with synchronized music, meaning, hey, all the music I create, I just want it to be in television and commercials. I'm not trying to be the star that's actually on the stage and performing. But we're gonna go with your typical artist, the one that wants the shebang. They want to be on the stage, they want to be interviewed and all those great things. So at the very beginning of setting up your team, the most important people you need on your team as the creator, not, I won't say you need a manager, but you need someone to be a liaison, meaning that person make sure you go to the studio on time, and the people that you want a part of the studio sessions, if it's extra writers or musicians and things like that, they kind of set those things up for you to get them. And they also, if you're working in a studio, you want them to be able to communicate with the studio, you know, setting up the timing and all that good stuff for the actual recording. Now, once you get in there, that same person, that liaison, can make sure that the split sheets are formed, signed and created and signed off and everything. And then also this person can be, you can also make this person your administrator. That person will make sure after everything is signed, everybody gets a copy, that it's the understanding that we're either going to go with BMI, ASCAP for yourself. All the people on your team don't have to go with the same PRO. You know, just make sure that everybody is registered and signed up. And they have, let me see what else you need after the administrator. You're going to need, because it is visual is king, go ahead and start figuring out who's going to be your social media content person. Who's going to be the one that uploads that content that you need to put out there once it's time to release your rollout plan, you know, from the day you in that studio to the day, you know, I want to release this song on this day. So you can already have that person in place if they're want to do some pre-work, whereas I want to record you some snippets behind the scenes stuff. They want to capture that. So that's one person that you'll have that's in charge of social media content. They're in charge of your graphics and visuals. They work with the administrator as well, because they're going to create that timeline for you of when you need to get things out. Also, you got administrator, you got your content creator, the distributor. So you need somebody that's going to be talking to your distributor. So that's a totally different person. That person needs to have a strong relationship. If you go with DistroKid, CD Baby, TuneCore, Beatroot, Music Connect, you need to know that they have created a relationship with someone in customer service to know more about where you want your music to go and who all do they deliver music to. Some people don't deliver to all the DSPs. DSPs meaning digital service providers, Tidal, Spotify, Apple. So you want them to have that information. Don't overload yourself. You know, as an independent artist, I know you want to wear a lot of hats, but just the people that's around you, entourage, give them small tasks. And it also can create jobs for them in the future because they want to be in the industry, but they don't know exactly where they want to go. So this is an opportunity for them to get their feet wet and say, hey, I really like doing this. And it also gives you an opportunity to do a assessment on, okay, maybe this is not for you. Maybe this is for you. So you creating opportunities for the people on your team, so they're not just sitting around just watching you work, if that helps. Yes. Okay. So you have a studio engineer, which is one that oversees the session. That's the one that pretty much sets up everything. Now that same person can be the producer that's producing the song, or it could be the person that mixes and masters the song. So let's say, for instance, when I worked at a label, there was 3 different people. So there was an engineer that actually set up the studio, and then there was the producer that the artist brought in with them, with the tracks and all that good stuff. And then there was another guy that did the mixing and mastering. But that person can be one person. It doesn't have to be 3 different people. Okay, so with long play, let me see, we created different codes. Yeah, so you would put a ISRC in your radio version, and I would put an ISRC in the long version. Same lyrics, if it's explicit or clean. But I've been in a position where I've created multiple ISRCs for radio versus long play.
Renisha, you mentioned sort of some of the different. I'm sorry, Brandon. I see you have another question. Actually, matter of fact, Brandon, your question is more important than mine. Go ahead.
Okay, is there a way for us to distribute our music without going through third parties such as CD Baby? Yeah, you can, but it's gonna be hard. And when you're asking me that question, you're saying you want to go directly to Apple. You can go directly to Apple, but they're going to take a percentage per unit that you release versus if you go through a aggregator, it's like a set fee. It's a flat fee, and you won't have to worry about all that other stuff in the back end. So if you want to deliver directly to Tidal or Spotify, it's a headache. I mean, you can do it, but I would suggest you go through a actual distributor because they're going to deliver all your music at once. And also, you think about your fans. Everybody don't go through Apple. Everybody don't go through Tidal. So you want to be able to meet the masses. You want music on all digital platforms. And when you going and making these relationships independently, one by one, that can be really, really hard for you to just keep up with. I would definitely go through a direct deal, that's Empire or Symphonic. Those people, they can break down exactly what they're delivering to the DSPs for you and how they can get you playlisted. And that's really, to be honest, now that we're in this space, digital space, playlisting, curating your song on these amazing 6 to 7 million people playlist is important. And as an individual trying to have that relationship with each DSP entity is going to be a little hard because CD Baby probably can pitch on your behalf and get you on. I know one Apple Brown Sugar. That's a huge R&B playlist that they have, and they can get you on their platform faster than you going independently through Apple. Okay, Jared, what was your question?
Well, I had a question about the sort of you mentioned a little bit of the difference between ASCAP and BMI. I figure some people might be curious as to why CSAC is invite only and what the history of that is and sort of the advantages between the three.
Okay, so CSAC it was a couple of attorneys that got together, and so it's a private sector versus BMI and ASCAP is a collective of individuals that got together to create those organizations to help facilitate royalties on behalf of artists, songwriters and composers. But CSAC is they're not limited, but they're just, they kind of weed out certain things and they work directly with labels, and it's a private sector. Not saying that you can't get in, because you can make a phone call and they will review your catalog. They do like bigger catalogs. I can tell you that CSAC, they work with people that have a bigger catalog. That way they can move your music around in a masses versus a one-off, a single, which BMI and ASCAP, they can handle that kind of process.
Speaking of distribution, do you have any thoughts about? I mean, Selecto has been such a huge presence in Memphis for the past. Well, it's been 60 years, I think, since they've been in business, but definitely, I think it would be probably relevant to a lot of people on the call that they've handled probably any local hip hop artist that you can think of that has had any kind of major imprint or footprint, from 3-6's earliest stuff to Playa Fly and Playa G and on and on and on. Do you have any particular thoughts about keeping it in Memphis and going out to Bartlett and letting them see what they can do as far as distribution?
I would do my research to see which one is a better fit. Like, yes, Selecto Hits is great. I actually been over there with Jeff and his dad, and they're really awesome people. And the digital space like I said, I think you're doing your research on the different distributors and see which one works best for you. I'm big on customer service. So if I can get you on the phone, or even if you would respond back to me and I see my product moving in some type of capacity, then yes, you'll probably get me as a client quicker that way. So I think it's so important that as an artist or someone that you have on your team, your liaison, have that relationship with the distributor and they come back to you and let you know what's going on. Don't be completely blind just because you're the artist. You need to know these things and what's going on behind the scenes with your music, because for one, it's going to play on when it's time to do promotions, so you're going to be shouting them out, you're going to be talking about them, and people are going to be asking you questions from a interviewing perspective, and you don't want to be in an interview and like, I don't really know nothing, I just record music. You want to know what's going on, because there are going to be times where you plug and you talk about how they're doing great things for you on your behalf. But it really goes down to, what do you want to see? Where do you want to see your music? Where do you want to go with your music? Which direction? So you you do the research on these different distributors and see where they can take your music. Some of them may not have a strong presence in digital. They may have a strong presence in physical, and you want to bring physical back. So you look at that, and I know Selector Hits is amazing when it comes to physical product. And you wanted that storefront, that merch, that entity. But if you're really strong about the TikToks and the Trillers and things of that nature, you look at the distributors that really go hard in that lane, and what does that look like for you, and how do you want to see that reciprocate in a royalty?
I think we have one more question. I think it was Marty Franks. Okay. I'm sorry, brother, that I stepped over you there.
Okay, does the engineer need to be added to the split sheet? Only if he's a producer. Engineer is added to the credits. He wants credit, because here's the thing: if that product goes all the way up to Grammy status, nomination, he wants his name a part of that, because that's going to help him get more clientele, and people are going to want to work with you all as a group. But only if he's a producer, he'll get a percentage. But he's not on the splits; he's on the end credits. After it blows. What do you mean by what happens if your copyright your music after it blows? If you can tell me what blows mean.
Yeah, it depends on what your definition of is, sort of how big is big, to quote the local group, the Masqueraders. It's definitely something you want to do the best you can. I would say, Renisha, you might have another perspective. I mean, I don't think you might, but if you do, please let me know. I think that all this administration is something that you want handled before you leave the studio, or at least to be handling as much of it as you can before you leave the studio. When you begin a work, whether or not you finish it, as Renisha mentioned earlier, you want to make sure your ducks are in a row. And that's not only as an artist, not only are you your own brand, but you're your own company in a sense. And so you have to be thinking about what a company needs to be able to protect itself on the front end and to sustain itself in the long run. And so the administration is just a part of it. Just like you can't go to school without getting your shots and without them knowing your social security number and what you might be allergic to and this and that. Like that's a part of sort of being able to put your best foot forward, because you'll hit snags along the way if you don't dot your I's and cross your T's.
Exactly. And I guess what you mean is, when you say, okay, you've copywritten your music and the song blows up and now all eyes are on you, that date that's on that copyright and your name is attached to it and your company, no one can, they're infringed on your rights. They do anything without your permission. That's the reason for having a copyright. So let's say that you get a phone call from an ad company, an ad such as Walmart or Target, and they want to use your song in an intro or any part of their advertising. Before they use that song, they have to get permission from the author, and you are the author. So regardless of how big that song gets, they have to contact Mario. at the end of the day.
I know that we sort of we've talked about sort of the business that is required on the front end to be able to release music. I mean, well, let's see, planning and packaging. So we kind of covered a good bit of all of that because we're kind of deep into the process now. But in as far as sort of being able to get it in the airwaves and on the airwaves, I know we wanted to sort of discuss some of the things that program managers and program directors like myself might be looking for, and how artists can put their best foot forward, rather. I come from a world, I'm in a unique position where I come from a world of being a journalist and sort of dealing with people who are acting on an artist's behalf, not necessarily always dealing with an artist. And I can definitely meet an artist where they are. But part of putting your best foot forward, whether it is the artists themselves reaching out, or if it's a PR person or, someone in management, is having some sort of package that tells me who that person is and what they are and how they see themselves and what space they occupy in an ecosystem, whether that be an EPK or a one sheet or a press release, something that tells me who you are, has some biographical information about you. For me, at my radio station, we don't have a format, so it's not that I'm just looking for hip hop or just looking for rock or just looking for country, anything. I'm looking for Memphis, particularly. And so to see the word Memphis in the heading, Memphis artist Marty Frank's new single, such and such, or in the bio, early up high in the lead. This is somebody who is from your neighborhood. And every artist has a story. So many independent artists are doing things in their community. If you're a teacher or if you are, if you work with Matter, whatever, we have a DJ on our radio station, DJ Alpha Whiskey. She's an air traffic controller and she controls the airwaves, those sorts of things that really deliver your story and bring it home. Because for me, it's not always about who's the most bumping. It's not always about who might not be quite there yet. Sometimes it's about what's interesting. And if we can have a conversation about you, if we can tell your story, if we can relate to people why they should care about your music, why maybe they should look towards who you are and what you do to be able to sort of watch an artist grow. That's a big part of packaging an artist that is well beyond the runtime of a song. Or an ISRC code. There have been tons of hits, and I'm sure y'all can think of them, that people have latched onto that had nothing to do with how polished the song was or how beautiful the artist was or if they could dance or whatever. I'm thinking of like All Gold Everything by Trinidad James or Lil Nas X, Old Town Road. These were cultural moments and things that were interesting, and somebody was able to tell their story about why's this black kid from Atlanta who was broke a few weeks ago and was doing Nicki Minaj memes on the internet. Why is he making a song that's inspired by hip hop and trap and country and all that? Like packaging all that together, delivering that to a program manager makes me say, when I'm opening up my email and I'm going through there and I say, okay, this person's from Boston, I don't want anything to do with that. This person's from Little Rock, that's kind of close, I'm not quite there. This person's from Memphis and they're a school teacher and their auntie had a hit in 1979. That's all important to me. That gives me some context to be able to share this person's story on air. Hey, coming up next, we got this new artist I'm just finding out about. You might know Ring My Bell by Nita Ward. This they niche, y'all. We about to go in. They teaching at Wooddale, y'all. Let's get it in. So that brings it all together.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're a journalist, so yes, you would definitely want to have all of that information. Also include from working from a label perspective and submitting music for radio. You want a clean version and an explicit version. If it's explicit, make sure you have a clean version. Also, another thing that it's just, we've talked about this in the studio a lot, is when you do have the explicit and you turn it to clean, if you can be creative with the word changing versus that little, that's annoying. It can get annoying. And so if you just be creative, and I'm using the example of Sorry Not Sorry by Demi Lovato. If you listen to her explicit version, she uses the B word a lot. And then in the clean one, she say chick. So she just completely to change the wording versus having that pause, that bleep out. So just from a creative side, working in the studio with artists, they have now changed over to creating the clean version with better lyrics, comfortable lyrics for radio. So be very mindful of that, but you submit it all, and the radio promoter or program director will at least have it. At least he has it. And also, most of them, from my experience, they want MP3s. Some may want WAV files. I would say do both. Every product that I've worked with, the artists just do both. My engineers, they create a WAV file and an MP3. Also, go ahead and make a acapella version of it. So let me go down the list of what I've had in my packaging. I would have the original song in clean and explicit, if it's an explicit version. I would have an acapella. I would have an instrumental. I would have a TV performance, basically where the vocals are in the back. But if you're working with a professional engineer, mixing and mastering, they know exactly what to do. And I'm a plug to Walter Person and Yoji Malin. They're out of Memphis, Tennessee, and you can find them on Instagram. I'll give to Tanya and she can put them in the chat. But they're really great. I've worked with them for about 10 years now with mixing and mastering music, and literally they know exactly what you need because they have that list as well. And they've been working on a professional level with what you would need to submit on behalf of radio, television, performances, stage performances. You just want to get those things done while you're in the studio. Don't wait till someone asks you for them. Just go ahead and put them on your to-do list and have them ready for the radio. And you're really helping out your DJ. You're helping out your program director.
Yeah, a lot of DJs, they may be playing on radio, but they also might be playing in clubs or doing Twitch or doing whatever after the fact, and they might want to play. I sort of think of when I was coming up, two big records that really did well of replacing lyrics. There was Back That Thing Up, and there was Back That other, and there was Shake It Fast, and there was the other version. And so, I think it goes a long way because, I was a young person when those records came out, but you could sing them at school, you could sing them out on the yard and not get in trouble. And you'd be, you kind of hate to say it out loud, but you'd be surprised how far a song could travel when a young person can get away with singing it and no one's going to pop them on the wrist. And if they do get popular, they might want to go and find the real version too. But DMX would Party Up and all those sorts of records. What's Your Fantasy? All those sort of things that we knew we weren't supposed to be singing it, but it gave us a way to enjoy it without being all the way out and getting in trouble. And so having both of those versions is really helpful. And you never know, one might catch better than the other. I think it's records like T.I. What you know from the ATL soundtrack, the clean version is the one that everybody knows. The way he replaced the words was so much more creative and had so much more sort of thought into it than just the regular dirty version. So if you can apply those tactics, you could really get a DJ on your side, because if a DJ likes your record, they'll fight for it. They'll fight to play it. They'll fight to get it in front of the ears of people that they think will enjoy it. And I can speak from experience. There might be a song that nobody believes in until one DJ really starts to get behind it. And it's the culture of how people are moved to it that can get a record through. And you hear stories like that all the time. Nobody was playing the A side and the B side happened to be a certain thing. Or you see in, Shaggy's It Wasn't Me. Nobody was playing it. The label was going to drop them. And all of a sudden in Hawaii, one DJ found it on Napster and started giving it spins. And, you just want to make sure that people have the options to interact with the music a lot of different ways. And the language can be divisive.
Very.
What's that song that people just
CeeLo Green?
Yeah. Forget You. what's the throat baby? You know,
Yep.
there's a
Yeah.
big discrepancy between what you might hear on the radio and what you might hear in the club if we were going to clubs right now. But both versions can be really important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Also, like we talked about submitting music to radio, certain music will track your songs. They go through, if you're not familiar with media base. So media base actually tracks how many times your song is getting spanned. If it's an opportunity where program director will pick it up and give it some spins, and you can chart these things, but you can't chart them until you submit them to the right platforms. And BDS is that platform. And Tonya, I think you have that website. If not, I'll send it to you. But BDS, and it'll give you a virtual encode access. It's so simple. And it's basically your name, the name of your label, your primary email information. And then once you get into the actual site, it's self-explanatory. It asks you for the name of the single, what version of the mix is it, if it's explicit or clean. Like I said, I would suggest submitting the clean version for radio. And then also they ask you for your ISRC, and they'll ask you for who's all on that album. But you need to make sure that you are submitting your music through these platforms for free. There's no charge to this. So it's a possibility that when it gets picked up, and you want to do these things before you start pitching the radio. You want to go ahead and get this done and get it in their system so that when it do get an opportunity to get a spin from a program director or a DJ, you can go and track it and see if you began to get movement on your song and if it's starting to go up the charts.
I see some people in the chat asking about how to get in touch with program directors. You know, I think relationships. First of all, I'll say relationships are really important. When you're putting that team together and you're thinking about who can advocate for you, I'd say it's almost most advantageous to have someone who you could align yourself with, who will step out there on your behalf while you're focusing on the creative part. The person who wants to negotiate with folks who they might know. I think of a Jay Henderson or Ricardo Hunter, or some people who are in the community who deal with artists. They already have established themselves as tastemakers or people who know who are able to forecast what's next, perhaps. And you might not always be able to have that kind of person, but everyone remembers who might have been the person at high school that everybody wanted to pass the aux cord to, or everybody wanted to play the CDs at the party. You want people like that who are going to be able to not just advocate for you, because anyone could say, they riding for their homeboy, but for somebody to say, hey, I want you to take a listen to this person, and I want you to see where they're going. You don't necessarily have to play the music right now. I want you to know who this person is in their story and figure and see how they might fit into what you're doing. It don't have to be right now, but I guarantee you later at some point you might want to be paying attention to what's going on, because a lot of program managers don't have an open door policy. A lot of program managers aren't going to put their email out there. A lot of commercial radio stations aren't going to be able to put you into a rotation because they have a really tight rotation and they have relationships already. And those relationships might not even be local. They might be more concerned with major label artists. And that's just the reality of where radio is right now, because they want to deal with artists who really have a lot of these things that we're discussing today already taken care of into a science, and are in a system, and that can be discouraging. In my case at WYXR, we're a community focused radio station. Our DJs are volunteers. That can be good or bad, because where you might be used to a WDIA or Rock 100 or Q107.5, where you've heard the same song earlier that you might hear later on. That some people might say that's predictable, but if you're an artist, there might be some security in knowing that whether or not a DJ likes your music will get played once you're in a system. For us, it's 100% on, which DJ likes your music, and you might hear a song on Monday and never hear it again, or you might not hear it again till Friday. There's just so much music that we interact with, and every DJ has a different style and different energy and a different genre they're concerned with. And so I will say, in our case, submissions at WYXR.org is the place to send your music. And again, if somebody is able to advocate on your behalf, someone is able to write a bio for you, if someone is able to, put together a package for you to say, here's this artist, here's this single, here's this opportunity to engage with this artist, then that can be helpful. And that can get you in front of us. And we have several DJs, including Tanya. Miss Tanya Dyson is one of them, that are looking at submissions at WYXR.org to see what new Memphis artists are aware of us and would like to be heard. And so, that could be a one shot. That could be Tanya plays it on her show and you might not ever hear it again on the station, or it could be it gets in our system and it gets in the rotation, and late night you might catch it at 2 a.m. or you might catch it, when there's not a DJ in there playing their own mix. I know that's a lot of information to take all at once.
Good information. Absolutely great information. Somebody, I saw the question about how do you get in touch with radio and submit. Publicists. Get you a good publicist. Find out who is in your area, or you can just do your research on a couple of publicists, because they have direct contacts, relationships with radio promoters, program directors, and things of that nature. That, once again, that's that middle liaison that you would have, because you don't have that relationship with them, and they've been working with these people for years and getting you either an interview for radio, which could get you like on their some type of exclusive indie playlist, or up and coming artists. They're always creating these different opportunities for you to get that song played on the air. So you need to find your really great publicist that works with radio. You just do your research on that and find out who's good. And they don't have to be from your city either, because they work globally. So just find out who's a really good publicist, and they can be the liaison between you and the radio.
Sure. And that's sort of where I was getting at is a PR person or a publicist. And if you don't have a budget for that, if you don't know how to approach that, then making someone in your camp that person, and making sure that they are building relationships and tasking them with that. But also, there's opportunities for someone who already has relationships to stage an event where people come to you, where, rather than you going out and knocking on everybody's door, or someone advocating for you knocking on everybody's door to say, you know what, let's get Royal Studios, or let's get the Slim House, or let's get the Malco Drive-In, and let's have a listening party. Let's make an event that people gonna be looking at Instagram like, damn, I'm seeing everybody on the stories talking about, they were at such and such event, and I didn't get the call, like, who is this artist and what's going on? And they're not necessarily even concerned with whether the music is good. That they want to be, it's the FOMO, and it's the, what is the relationship? How was just born there, and Boogaloo was there and I wasn't there. This must be a new record that I need to know about. I didn't mean new artists I need to know about, and they're gonna come find you. If they see people taking pictures and having a good time, and they came out to hear your music, and it might not be those established DJs, it may not be those legends in our community, but it could be the person on Instagram. They might be selling hair, and you be like, she got hella followers. I need her at my junt, or make it creative. I need Philip Ashley chocolates to be there. We gonna have the chocolates in the building, and make it for Valentine's Day. You never know what creative ideas might draw a lot of attention around an artist or around a specific unit of music. And you got to think about the content of your song. You got to think about your personal brand and your personal image, and what other partnerships you can build that might get a blog, or might get a DJ, or might get I don't care if it's a car wash, car dealership, wherever people listening to music and interacting with music, you know, that's an active audience when people sitting in their cars, or if people are, I don't know, in the line getting the vaccine, what are they going to listen to? You know, music is so effervescent in our world and in our space that, you know, it may not be Tidal, it may not be Spotify, it may not be a playlist that gets you on. It could be an event, it could be a moment, it could be a TikTok, it could be a tweet, it could be a joke that spreads your brand and spreads what you're about.
Absolutely. And to piggyback on creativity, promo packaging. So create something, it doesn't have to be elaborate, something small with a download card or something that identifies with your song. Like what is so captivating around your song? You put that in a cool little promo packet and you submit that to Jared or different DJs, a DJ pool of people. And when they open up their package, they probably gonna put it on IG, Twitter, or whatever, and say, yo, I got this from such and such artist. They got some new music coming out. You're probably gonna get some radio play, or you're probably just gonna get a plug, period. You know, just by being creative and sending out some type of promo package to that entity.
Yeah, and I mean, and think of it, you know, radio is fun, and radio is important, and radio is a big part of this community. But there's much more. There's proms, and there's you know, lounges, and you know, hookah bars, and you know, Chuckles Comedy. I mean, there's other places that can expose this content, and I would challenge you to sort of consider that all it takes is one or two before radio can't help but to take notice.
Right.
You know, if people are saying, "Hey, why ain't y'all playing such and such?" You know, they got a buzz in the streets. They got a clean version. I know, I heard it. You know, a program manager's job is to get the content on the station that they know that people will be enriched by and will rally around. And you know, whether they're, you know, a nonprofit or for profit, they're selling ad space, they're selling you know, that's their revenue. And right. So if they can show to an advertiser, we got this many listeners, and they're community focused and they're community minded, and they listen to us because we have music that is meaningful to the community. They might hear their church member, they might hear the person from their dentist office, or doctor office, or from the grocery store. Those are all great stories to tell. And, you know, to be able to build and establish a stable of support around yourself by using the people in your team to put those tentacles out there in the community, then you might not need a label. You might not need a huge representation if you got that level of support and you have, you know, something that can back up your artistry.
Absolutely. Also, identify with who your demographic is. And how you do that is you do a focus group. You know, a lot of artists, I've seen it before, you release a song, but you didn't get any feedback beforehand to make sure that you're going in the right direction with your product. So you want to get a little bit of feedback from an audience, and then and at the same time, you're making an assessment on the demographic that's enjoying your music. So now you already have some type of range on, okay, I know that my music can okay, there I am. I'm messing up, but you
Let's see if we can get her back. I don't know if everybody else is having issues here, Renisha. But I think that what she was going with that was essentially, you know, particularly in a world where there's so much content and there's so much, you know, people are going to give you feedback on Twitter or Instagram, whichever it might be, you know, in real time. I think it's important to do your work on your end to make sure that your music not only resonates with people, but that it's culturally appropriate, and that people feel okay with it and that people can relate to it and it's not tone deaf, and that it really is hitting where you want it to hit. And it's okay to ask questions of your fans. Is this piece working for you? How do you think I can grow? And a focus group can be as many or as many people or as close and tight and intimate as you would need for it to be, or like for it to be. It could be people who don't know you well. It could be people who do know you well, but being able to say, all right, do you feel comfortable with this? So often you see artists say things. What was the young lady who put the red bone or a light skin kind of song out? If she had a focus group of people who were able to say, I'm not in your camp, but I don't think that people are going to respond well to this. How a bad PR situation could have become a really good PR situation if people were able to have a real honest and true and sort of fair discussion about colorism in our community and that sort of thing. A lot of that heat could have been avoided. And a lot of good feedback can come out of just asking people whether or not what you're trying to express and what you're trying to say is making sense to them, if it feels relevant, if it feels like it's an idea that can be sustained over a long period of time. And also, you might find out that you've got music that you have laying around that you've already moved on from that you can improve. That it might be an old idea that you can upcycle a song and make it feel fresh and make it feel new. And I know that that's something that, as a program manager, I deal with a lot, where someone might say, oh man, that was 2008. It's like, well, that was a good idea in 2008. And it could be an even better idea if you revisit it. Because, if it's just my first time hearing about you and I'm right here, in your community, then a really good idea could take you far, where, somebody might say, I never, it's a new song to me. I never heard it, you up in my white tee. How many times you could revise that till it's really tight. And, what could be a local hit can become a huge established groundbreaking song for artists because they didn't leave a song behind just because it didn't get the response they wanted early on.
Absolutely. And we have any questions? So we're wrapping up now. But I would like to say, just in closing, collaborate with people, create the team. You don't think that you're in this by yourself. Get around people that want the same success as you, and y'all can grow together. Teamwork, trust me, working in this industry, I've had to lean on people. Even as a general manager of a label, I still had to lean on my team to get certain things done because the deliverables, the time frames, the crunch times, oh my God, I can only imagine the 24-hour deadlines we've had, but I had to rely on them and trust them to get things done. And we push through every time. So please figure out who you want on your team and collaborate with the people around you so you don't feel like you're overwhelmed and you're in this alone or you're doing it by yourself. There's some Memphis talent everywhere. I'm from Memphis, but I've seen so many amazing, talented people that just need a good team. They just need people around them that's willing to work, and make sure that you include a budget. Make sure, and not the budget for the team members, but for the things that you're going to have to pay for in the long run. So definitely include having some type of budget for an investment and work around that budget. And don't be afraid to talk about that budget with your team so you can let them know, hey, I can't pay you XYZ, but we can barter. So I may can do something on your project, or however that works. Just work together until you see the success and everybody can get paid.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much to our panelists. Again, thank you, Jared. Thank you, Renisha, for sharing so much valuable information this morning. Of course, we will have this playback available. It will be located here on our Facebook page on Memphis Slim House. And then also it'll be on our YouTube channel in the next couple of hours. So it'll sit there as well as on our website at memphislimhouse.org. Also, quick note, I put into the comment section the link to the survey. So if you see a Survey Monkey link, please click on that and give us feedback about this session so we can help figure out how to improve and how to continue to provide information that you all need. And of course, as somewhat of a gift, one of the survey participants will win a $20 gift card to Slim and Husky. So you do get an incentive for giving us some feedback. So go ahead and fill out that survey again. It's helping us to figure out how to help you, essentially. And then, of course, one of you, for your time, may win that gift card as well. Slim and Huskies is delicious, by the way, and that is enough for you to get a pizza and a nice cinnamon roll as well. I also want to remind you, let me see here, of our upcoming seminar as well. A lot of you all asked about distribution, and we actually have a distributor coming in for our next seminar. We have Michaela Allen, who is the marketing manager for DistroKid, that will be giving a talk, and she will be discussing and talking over digital distribution and the ins and outs of everything with Angela Green. And that is April 6th at 3 p.m. If you did register by email, you will see the email come across, with the invite, giving, of course, members, you'll receive an email from me as well with that. And you'll also see it on the Facebook page as well. So be sure to follow that and keep up with it, because we have kicked off our how-to series. And so we do have a lot of wonderful programming lined up for you all to learn. We are coming out of COVID. And we need to learn a few things, because it's a new business. It's looking entirely different out here. And so the more you know, the more you will definitely grow with that. So also, if you see the ticker down below, we are kicking off our fundraising campaign starting this Monday. So if you are moved to, you can text GIVE to 901-350-6949 to donate to Slim House. And of course, we always old-fashioned take checks. So if you want to mail something in to 1130 College Street, you always can. But outside of that, if we don't have any further questions, do we have any closing remarks from our panelists today?
I just saw Ekpe Abiodo in the chat, so I just want to give him some shout out and kudos and thanks for your leadership. Thanks for everybody else who has attended and commented and asked questions. And thank you, Renisha. It's fantastic to chat with you and to glean so much information from you, and hope to continue to learn from you and learn from your leadership and to connect with everyone who has attended. Hopefully we'll meet in person, and Memphis music means so much to me, and I really will be grateful for all of you who continue to try and put yourself out there and do new things and learn and create and handle the administrative part, because I'm still playing music that was recorded in the 60s and 70s that people might not have heard. And so if we continue to keep this thing going, there's no shelf life on it.
No.
Whether or not you're noticed now, whether or not you're rewarded now, whether or not you get your flowers now, this is our, as I mentioned earlier, our history, our record that we are here and that we matter and that we have something to say. And so that I know may not be a monetary reward, but that is still meaningful and impactful. So thank you all.
Yes, thank you all for, first of all, Slim House, for having me be on here and talk about these things, because they are very, very important. And shout out to Danny the Pen. I saw you on there. So he also was he's a part of the Emerging Stars program over at the consortium, and he's a phenomenal writer. So shout out to him. Thank you so much for the people that came and wanted to get this information, because that's like, if it's your first time being a part of a webinar or a workshop, kudos to you for kicking off your career, wanting to be in this and wanting to learn full throttle. And like Jared said, he's playing music from the 60s and 70s, and it's gaining that longevity of royalty. For example, you have Shawty Low, not Shawty Low, but Flow Rider, Shawty Got Low. This is Kroger commercial, and that song came out years ago. And look at him, he's collecting that royalty on that Kroger ad. So definitely be very mindful of the administration and copyright your music and protecting your intellectual property. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
think that we should be telling the music like this, you know, kind of thing. Amazing. But as you say, it's business.
Yeah, business continuity. That's what I just know. But see, the thing is, because we don't really think about the future. Because that's our problem in the black people. We don't think about the future, right? About all this now. So he knows that he won't live to be, but he thinks about his family and his family's family. We don't think like that. That's bad for us. Give it to me.
But I think for musicians as well, when they start and so on, you know, you can't think how big it's going to be. You can't.
No, well, think about it. Like me, I've been around so many. I've seen people this way, and when they can't be going in, they can't be coming back. And I've been right in